Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. There comes a moment in every life when the noise of the world gets too loud. The voices, the expectations, the distractions, the opinions, they pile up, and before you know it, you can't even hear yourself think. You wake up one morning and realize you've been living not as who you are, but as who everybody else told you to be. You've been carrying weight that was never yours, chasing goals that were never meant for you, and holding on to people who don't even see you. That's when the thought creeps in. The bold, dangerous thought, what if I disappeared? I'm not talking about vanishing into thin air. I'm not talking about running from responsibility. I'm not talking about faking your own death or hiding in some faraway land. No, I'm talking about a higher kind of disappearance. The kind where you step back, close the door, turn off the noise, and walk away from the version of yourself that no longer serves your destiny. The kind where you say, enough, this is not who I am anymore. This is not the life I was born to live. See, sometimes the only way to transform is to disappear. Sometimes you've got to retreat, go silent, and let the old version of you die quietly so a new version can be born. Caterpillars don't transform in the middle of the street. They don't grow wings in the spotlight. They disappear. They vanish into a cocoon, into silence, into stillness, into darkness. And when they reappear, nobody recognizes them. That's what transformation looks like. That's what you're called to do. But here's the problem. Most people are afraid to disappear. They are addicted to being seen, addicted to validation, addicted to likes and applause and approval. They want transformation, but they don't want separation. They want the breakthrough, but not the isolation that comes with it. And that's why they stay the same. Year after year, decade after decade, they keep circling the same mountain, repeating the same mistakes, replaying the same story, because they never had the courage to step away and say, I need to lose myself in order to find myself. You've got to learn the art of disappearing. You've got to be willing to walk into the shadows, into the quiet, into the unknown. You've got to be willing to disappoint people, to confuse people, to lose people. Because when you disappear, not everyone will understand. Some will say you've changed. Some will call you selfish. Some will call you crazy. And you know what? Let them. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them doubt. Because when you reemerge, when you come back shining, when you come back unrecognizable, those same people will say, I always knew you had it in you. Transformation is not a public event. Transformation is private. Transformation is painful. Transformation is lonely. You can't take everybody with you. You can't explain everything you're doing. You can't broadcast your every step. Sometimes you've got to move in silence. Sometimes you've got to let your absence speak louder than your presence ever did. But disappearing is not just about walking away. It's about going inward. It's about confronting the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, and asking the hard questions. Who am I, really? What do I want, really? Who do I need to become in order to carry the weight of the dream that's been placed in my heart? Those questions are not answered in the noise. They are answered in the silence. They are answered in the disappearing. Let me tell you something. The greatest victories are not won on stages, not won in arenas, not won under bright lights. They are won in the quiet places. They are won in the nights when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody cares. They are won in prayer, in discipline, in sweat, in sacrifice. That's where transformation happens. That's where greatness is born. And you've got to be ready for the pain of it. Because disappearing hurts. It hurts to be misunderstood. It hurts to walk alone. It hurts to feel invisible. It hurts to sit with your own thoughts when the silence is so loud it almost breaks you. But that's the fire. That's the refining. That's the test. Diamonds don't shine because they stay comfortable. They shine because they were buried, pressed, and refined under pressure. You want to shine? Get ready for the pressing. Get ready for the silence. Get ready to disappear. But don't confuse disappearing with giving up. Don't confuse silence with surrender. Don't confuse solitude with defeat. No, this is strategy. This is growth. This is you saying, I am stepping back so I can step forward. I am going under so I can rise higher. I am going quiet so my future can speak louder than my past ever did. And when you do it right, when you disappear the way you're supposed to, when you commit to the process fully, you will come back so transformed that even you won't recognize yourself. Your mindset will change. Your habits will change. Your circle will change. Your energy will change. And the people who once overlooked you, doubted you, dismissed you, they won't be able to ignore you anymore. Because you'll be a walking testimony of what happens when a person dares to disappear and transform. So my question to you tonight is simple. Are you ready? Are you ready to let go of who you were, to step away from the noise, to silence the voices, to walk into the cocoon? Are you ready to disappear in order to transform? Because if you are, I promise you, your comeback will be louder than any applause you've ever heard. Your reemergence will shake the ground. Your transformation will inspire generations. But it starts with a decision. A bold, courageous, terrifying decision to walk away from the old you and embrace the unknown. To close the door, cut the cord, and trust that on the other side of silence lies your true self. True transformation requires disappearance. You cannot become something new while clinging to everything old. Just like a caterpillar enters the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly, you must step away from the noise to grow. Think about that process for a moment. The caterpillar doesn't simply stretch out its legs, decide it wants wings, and instantly fly. No, it withdraws. It goes into hiding. It encloses itself in a space where nothing and no one can reach it. To the outside world, it looks like nothing is happening. To the casual observer, it looks like it has disappeared. But on the inside, everything is happening. On the inside, a radical transformation is taking place. That is what so many of us miss. We want the wings without the cocoon. We want the beauty without the breaking. We want to be seen soaring without ever being willing to step away and go unseen. But there is no shortcut to transformation. If you want to be unrecognizable tomorrow, you must be willing to be invisible today. If you want to stand in your full power later, you must be willing to disappear into silence now. Disappearance is uncomfortable. Let's be honest, it feels like rejection, it feels like failure, it feels like loss. You step back from the crowd. You stop showing up in the same places, you stop entertaining the same people, and suddenly you feel like maybe you're missing out. But hear me clearly. Missing out on noise is the first step to tuning into your purpose. Missing out on temporary pleasures is the first step to permanent growth. Missing out on being seen is the first step to being changed. The cocoon stage of your life will never look glamorous. It will not be broadcasted on social media. It will not make sense to your friends. It will not come with applause. It will not be easy to explain, but it is necessary. When a caterpillar enters that cocoon, it does not simply rest. It dissolves. Its old body literally breaks down into liquid form. The creature it was has to die for the creature it is meant to be, to live. And that is why disappearance is so crucial. Because the person you've been cannot carry the life you're called to. The mindset you've had cannot carry the dream that belongs to you. The habits you've lived with cannot carry the destiny that is waiting for you. Something has to die for something greater to be born. But here's the challenge. Most people run from the cocoon. They peek out halfway through. They cut the process short. They want to be transformed, but they cannot handle being unseen. They cannot handle being misunderstood. They cannot handle the quiet. And so they step out before the work is done. And just like a butterfly pulled too early from its cocoon, they are underdeveloped. Their wings are weak. They cannot fly. They spend the rest of their lives crawling when they were born to soar. So you've got to decide, do you want comfort or do you want transformation? Do you want the life you've always had or do you want the life you've always dreamed of? Do you want to stay as you are, or do you want to become what you were created to be? Because you cannot have both. You cannot cling to the crowd and discover your crown. You cannot hold on to the noise and hear your calling. You cannot live for applause and live for purpose at the same time. Something has to give. And this is where courage comes in. It takes courage to disappear. It takes courage to log off, to step back, to say no. It takes courage to distance yourself from certain people, from certain habits, from certain environments. It takes courage to say, I need time to grow. I need time to change. I need time to work on myself. And it takes even more courage to do it without needing anyone else to understand, because they won't. They'll question you. They'll judge you. They'll assume you've lost your way when in reality you finally found it. The truth is, your transformation is not their business. Your growth is not their project. Your destiny is not their responsibility. You owe no explanations for stepping into silence. The only thing you owe is to your future self, the one who is waiting for you on the other side of discipline, sacrifice, and growth. When you disappear, something powerful happens. You finally meet yourself. In the noise of the world, you can lose yourself without even knowing it. You take on identities that don't belong to you. You live out scripts that others wrote. You wear masks that others handed you. But in the silence, all of that falls away. In the cocoon, the masks melt. The false roles dissolve. The voices of others fade. And for the first time in a long time, you can hear your own voice. You can ask yourself the questions that matter. Who am I? Who do I want to become? What do I need to let go of in order to rise higher? What do I need to build in order to become unshakable? Those questions can't be answered when you're drowning in distractions. They can't be answered when you're addicted to being seen. They can't be answered when you're desperate for applause. They can only be answered in the quiet. They can only be answered when you dare to disappear. And let me tell you what happens when you come back. Because you will come back. Disappearance is not forever. It is for a season. And when you reemerge, you won't be the same. People won't recognize you. The same things that once triggered you won't even bother you anymore. The same habits that once enslaved you will have no power over you anymore. The same limits that once caged you will break before you. Because you will have grown. You will have transformed. You will have stepped into the person you were always meant to be. And that is when your wings spread. That is when you rise above the noise, rise above the doubt, rise above the fear. That is when you step into the fullness of your destiny. But none of it can happen without disappearance first. So stop running from the cocoon. Stop clinging to comfort. Stop fearing silence. Stop needing applause. Be willing to vanish from the world for a season in order to meet yourself in the silence. Be willing to close the door and walk into the darkness, trusting that light is being prepared inside you. Be willing to go unseen so that one day you can return unstoppable. Because true transformation does not happen in public. It does not happen with applause. It does not happen under the spotlight. It happens in the dark. It happens in the hidden places. It happens when you disappear. So if you are serious about change, if you are serious about growth, if you are serious about becoming everything you were created to be, then hear me, disappear. Step into the cocoon. Let the old you dissolve. Let the transformation begin. Trust the process, because when you reemerge, you won't just be improved, you will be reborn. You won't just be better, you will be unrecognizable. You won't just crawl through life, you will fly. And when you fly, the world will look at you and wonder how it happened. They'll say you came out of nowhere. They'll say you changed overnight, but you will know the truth. You didn't come out of nowhere, you came out of silence. You didn't change overnight, you changed in the cocoon. You didn't skip the process, you embraced it. You dared to disappear. And that disappearance was the very thing that made your transformation possible. So do not be afraid. The cocoon is not the end of you, it is the beginning of you. The silence is not your grave, it is your womb. Disappear boldly and watch how powerfully you return. Silence is the birthplace of strength. We live in a world that worships noise, a culture that glorifies constant motion, endless updates, and the illusion of progress. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to prove they're doing something, building something, becoming something. Yet the truth is this: greatness is not forged in the spotlight. Strength is not born in the applause. Power is not shaped in the noise. The real work, the real transformation, the real breakthrough, it happens in silence. Think about the strongest structures you've ever seen: mountains, oceans, ancient temples, towering skyscrapers. Do you think they were created in front of an audience? No. They were formed in quiet, in stillness, in unseen hours. A mountain is shaped by pressure over thousands of years, silently rising, silently enduring. The ocean doesn't need to shout to be powerful. It moves with steady, relentless rhythm, reshaping the earth without anyone noticing. Even skyscrapers are built from the ground up. And before you ever see the height, before you ever see the steel glisten in the sun, there is digging, there is foundation work, there is silence. that silence is where strength is born. So why do we believe our lives should be any different? Why do we think strength will come from applause, from attention, from constant validation? Strength comes from what you do when nobody is watching. It comes from the hours of discipline when there's no praise. It comes from the choices you make in solitude, in the quiet of your own mind, in the hidden places where only you know what you're doing. Silence is not weakness, it is training. Silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. Silence is not loneliness, it is alignment. When you are silent, when you are still, when you choose to step away from the noise of the crowd, you are giving yourself the chance to build what cannot be shaken. You are giving yourself the chance to strengthen the roots so that the branches can spread wide. The problem with so many people today is that they're obsessed with showing progress instead of making progress. They want others to see them grinding, hustling, moving, but in reality they're just spinning in circles. They confuse activity with accomplishment, but real accomplishment doesn't always look like much from the outside. Real accomplishment often looks like silence, like the writer filling page after page in solitude, like the athlete training before dawn when nobody cares, like the student studying late into the night, long after the cameras are off, like the dreamer sketching plans in a notebook that nobody else even knows exists. That's where greatness is forged, in the unseen hours. But silence isn't easy. Silence forces you to face yourself. When the noise dies down, when the applause fades, when the distractions are gone, you are left with the truth. And the truth can be uncomfortable. The truth will tell you what you've been running from, what you've been ignoring, what you've been afraid to confront. And that is why silence is so powerful. Because in silence, there is nowhere to hide. You must face the mirror. You must face your weaknesses. You must face the parts of yourself that you'd rather avoid. And when you face them, when you wrestle with them in the quiet, that's where strength is born. Strength isn't built by pretending. Strength isn't built by performing. Strength isn't built by impressing others. It's built by confronting your own fears, your own doubts, your own excuses, and choosing to rise above them. That battle doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in solitude. Take the strongest people you admire, not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the ones whose presence commands respect. You'll find a common thread. They've spent time in silence. They've learned the discipline of solitude. They've cultivated strength in unseen places, so that when they step into the light, they cannot be shaken. Their roots are too deep. Their foundation is too strong. You cannot fake that kind of strength. You cannot skip the silence and expect the power. You cannot chase the applause and expect resilience. If you want to stand tall in the storm, you must learn to love the quiet. If you want to shine in the spotlight, you must be forged in the shadows. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you to broadcast every move, to share every step, to seek constant validation. But validation is fragile. Applause is temporary. Noise fades. And when it fades, what will you have left? If you've never learned to stand in silence, you will crumble. If your strength was built on the spotlight, you will fall the moment the lights go out. But if your strength was built in silence, you will endure. You will not need the noise, because the strength you carry is not borrowed. It is real. It is earned. It is unshakable. There is a difference between looking strong and being strong. Looking strong is about image, about perception, about keeping up appearances. Being strong is about what you've survived, what you've built, what you've disciplined yourself to become. Looking strong is for others. Being strong is for you, and being strong only comes from what you build in the quiet. Silence is the gym of the soul. It's where you lift the weights nobody sees. It's where you run the miles nobody tracks. It's where you practice when nobody is clapping. It's where you discipline your mind when nobody is checking on you. And just like in the physical gym, the work is not glamorous. It's sweat. It's repetition. It's pain. It's doing the same thing over and over when you're tired, when you don't feel like it, when nobody will ever know. That's what creates strength. That's what makes you unbreakable. And one day, when you do step into the light, when you do stand on the stage, when you do enter the moment of testing, people will wonder where your power came from. They'll wonder how you stayed so calm, how you stayed so grounded, how you carried yourself with such authority. They'll think it was magic, or luck, or natural talent. But you'll know the truth. you'll know it was silence. It was the hours nobody saw. It was the discipline nobody clapped for. It was the battles you fought in solitude that made you strong enough to win in public. So don't fear the silence. Embrace it. Don't despise solitude. Cherish it. Don't run from the unseen hours. Use them, because those unseen hours are the birthplace of everything you're praying for. That's where your habits are built. That's where your character is forged. That's where your faith is tested. That's where your strength is born. And when the spotlight finally does come, when the applause finally does arrive, when the recognition finally finds you, you'll be ready. You won't be shaken. You won't be fragile. You won't be dependent on anyone else's validation, because you'll know you've already been tested. You've already built your strength in silence, and that kind of strength cannot be taken from you. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is fullness. It is in silence that you plant the seeds of greatness. It is in silence that you water them with consistency. It is in silence that you watch them take root. And when the time is right, they will bloom. Not because you shouted, not because you showed off, but because you had the patience to be still, to endure, to grow unseen. So step away from the noise. Don't fear the quiet, because silence is not the absence of strength. Silence is the birthplace of it, and if you dare to embrace it, you'll discover a strength within you that no storm can shake, no critic can diminish, and no spotlight can outshine. Disappearance is not defeat. Too many people confuse stepping back with giving up, but the two are not the same. There is a world of difference between quitting and retreating. Quitting is when you abandon the fight because you no longer believe in the victory. Retreating is when you step back to strengthen yourself, to sharpen your weapons, to study the battlefield, so that when you return with power. Disappearing is not the end of your story. It is part of the strategy that ensures your story will end in triumph. Look at history, look at nature, look at the greatest transformations mankind has ever witnessed, and you will see a pattern. Everything strong, everything enduring, everything legendary has a season of disappearance. Seeds disappear underground before they break the soil. Soldiers retreat behind the lines before they launch a decisive attack. Great leaders step away, ate solitude before they return with vision. Disappearance is never wasted. It is invested. It is time placed in the bank of transformation so that later you can withdraw strength, clarity, and resilience. But the problem is, we live in a culture that only respects what it sees. If people can't see you working, they assume you're doing nothing. If people can't see you moving, they assume you're stuck. If people can't see you posting, sharing, or proving, they assume you've fallen off. That is the trap of visibility. And if you fall into it, you will begin to believe that disappearing means losing. But hear me clearly, it does not. Stepping back does not mean you are finished. It means you are preparing. Think about a bow and arrow. Before the arrow flies, it must first be pulled back. The further the pull, the greater the launch. For a moment, it looks like the arrow is moving backward, away from its target. To the untrained eye, it seems like it's going the wrong way, but in reality, it's building momentum. It's building energy. It's preparing for impact. And when it is finally released, it does not crawl toward the target. It flies with force. That's what disappearance is. That's what stepping back does. It loads you with momentum for a stronger return. Sometimes life pulls you back so hard you think you're being punished. You think you're being forgotten. You think you're being buried, but you're not buried. You're planted. You're not forgotten. You're being prepared. The setback is not the end. It's the setup. The retreat is not defeat. It's a strategy. And when you understand that, you stop fearing the silence. You stop fearing the seasons where nothing seems to be happening. You stop fearing the cocoon, because you realize that those seasons are where the real work is done. Disappearing gives you space to heal. It gives you space to think. It gives you space to rebuild without the weight of eyes watching, without the pressure of performing. It gives you permission to grow without explanation, to transform without judgment. In public, you are pressured to be consistent with who people think you are. In silence, you are free to become who you truly are. That's why stepping back is not giving up. It is the boldest move you can make, because it says, I'm not afraid to leave the crowd behind. I'm not afraid to pause. I'm not afraid to grow unseen. But make no mistake, Disappearing is not easy. It takes humility to step back when your pride tells you to keep pushing. It takes discipline to go quiet when everything around you tells you to keep shouting. It takes courage to walk away from the stage when the applause is still ringing. Yet it is in that humility, that discipline, that courage, that your strength is refined. Even nature understands this rhythm. The tide pulls back before it surges forward. Winter covers the earth in silence before spring bursts forth with life. Night falls before the sunrise. Everything strong, everything lasting, everything powerful has its moment of retreat. Why would you be any different? If even creation itself must step back before it leaps forward, why should you fear your own disappearance? Some of you are in a season right now where you feel invisible. You feel like nobody sees you, nobody recognizes your work, nobody acknowledges your effort. You feel like you're in the shadows, but hear me, the shadows are where giants are built. The shadows are where warriors are trained. The shadows are where foundations are laid. Don't despise your disappearance. Don't rush out of it. Don't try to force your way into the light before the time is right, because if you rush it, you'll step out half-formed, half-ready, half-strong, and half-strength will not carry you through a full battle. When you disappear with purpose, you are not losing. You are loading. You are not retreating. You are resetting. You are not giving up. You are gearing up. That's the power of silence, the power of pulling back, the power of disappearing strategically. Think of the greatest fighters, the champions of the world. They don't spend all their time in the ring. They spend most of their time training in silence, away from the crowd, perfecting the craft, sharpening the skills, building the endurance. The fight is won long before the audience sees it. The victory is sealed in the quiet hours of preparation. And when they step into the ring, they don't step in weak. They step in unstoppable. That's because they understood that stepping back was part of the strategy. Your life is no different. You cannot always be on. You cannot always be producing, performing, proving. You need seasons of rest, seasons of growth, seasons of silence. You need to retreat to refuel. You need to disappear to discover. You need to pull back to propel forward. And if you resist those seasons, if you try to stay visible all the time, you will burn out, wear out, and fade out. But if you embrace them, if you trust them, you will come back stronger than ever before. So the next time life forces you to step back, don't panic. Don't assume it means you've lost. Don't assume it means you've failed. Look at the bow and arrow. Look at the tide. Look at the seed underground. Look at the winter. They all tell you the same story. Disappearance is not defeat. It is strategy for a stronger return. When you finally step forward again, when you finally rise again, when you finally reemerge, you will not be the same. You will not walk the way you used to walk. You will not think the way you used to think. You will not fight the way you used to fight. You will be sharper. You will be stronger, you will be wiser, and everyone who thought you were finished will stand amazed at the force of your comeback. So don't fear the silence. Don't despise the retreat. Don't confuse disappearance with defeat. The world may think you've gone missing, but what they don't realize is that you're preparing for a return so powerful it will silence every doubt, every critic, every obstacle. Step back with courage. Step back with faith. Step back with strategy, because your comeback is already in motion, and when it arrives, it will shake the ground beneath your feet. Validation is a trap. One of the greatest prisons a human being can live in is the constant hunger for approval, the endless chase for someone else's nod, someone else's applause, someone else's acceptance. When you live your life looking over your shoulder, waiting to be told you're good enough, waiting to be told you're worthy, waiting to be told you're allowed to rise, you will never reach your highest potential. Transformation demands that you break those chains. It demands that you let go of the need for validation, and yes, it demands that you be willing to be misunderstood. Let's face it, people are fickle. Their opinions change like the wind. One moment they love you, the next they criticize you. One moment they cheer for you, the next they doubt you. If you build your identity on their approval, you will be tossed around by every shift in opinion. But if you build your identity on something deeper, your conviction, your calling, your purpose, then no matter who misunderstands you, no matter who doubts you, no matter who walks away, you remain unshaken. That is the freedom transformation gives you. Think about every great innovator, every great leader, every great transformer of history. They were misunderstood. They were criticized. They were doubted. When they introduced something new, when they dared to think differently, the world didn't clap, it mocked. When they stepped out of line with tradition, the crowd didn't cheer, it resisted. But that's the cost of transformation. If you are unwilling to be misunderstood, you are unwilling to grow. Because growth will always offend those who are comfortable in their own stagnation. The trap of validation is seductive. It feels good to be liked. It feels good to be celebrated. It feels good to be told you're right. But here's the danger. If you need validation to move, then you'll be paralyzed when it's missing. If you need constant approval to act, then the moment people withhold it, you'll freeze. And worse, you'll begin to shape your life around pleasing others instead of fulfilling your purpose. You'll make decisions not because they're right, but because they'll keep you accepted. You'll shrink yourself, dilute yourself, and betray yourself just to stay in good graces. And in doing so, you will sacrifice the very transformation you were called to experience. Transformation is disruptive. Transformation breaks patterns. Transformation challenges expectations. It cannot happen while you're still trying to keep everybody comfortable. The truth is, when you change, some people will feel threatened. Some will feel left behind. Some will project their fear onto you. If you live for their approval, you'll never have the courage to walk that path. That is why you must let go. That is why you must be willing to be misunderstood. Being misunderstood is not failure. It is confirmation that you're doing something different. It means you've stepped outside the mold. It means you're no longer living on autopilot, no longer enslaved to the roles that others have assigned you. Misunderstanding comes with the territory of transformation, and you must be okay with it. You must be okay with people whispering, she's changed or he's different. Of course you've changed. Of course you're different. That was the point. Ask yourself, who are you living for? Whose approval are you chasing? If your answer is everyone, then you're trapped. Because everyone will never agree. Everyone will never approve. Everyone will never see you clearly. But if your answer is deeper, if you're living for your purpose, if you're living for your calling, if you're living to fulfill what was planted in your heart, then validation becomes irrelevant. Your mission matters more than their misunderstanding. Validation is a moving target. You'll never hit it consistently. You'll wear yourself out trying to please people who can't even please themselves. Some of you are exhausted not because your dream is too heavy, but because you're carrying the weight of everyone else's opinions. You are dragging around their doubts, their criticisms, their judgments, their standards, and you wonder why you feel stuck, why you feel weak, why you feel drained. It's because you've given away your power. Every time you let someone else's approval determine your action, you hand them the steering wheel of your life. And how can you transform when someone else is driving? The moment you stop seeking validation, you take your power back. The moment you say, I don't need your permission to grow, you free yourself. The moment you accept that being misunderstood is part of the process, you unlock a new level of strength, because here's the truth. The ones who misunderstand you now may thank you later. The same people who criticize your growth today may one day admire your courage. But even if they never do, it doesn't matter. Transformation was never about them. It was about you. Let's talk about the inner side of validation, because it's not just about other people, it's also about you. Sometimes the loudest critic is your own mind. Sometimes the one withholding approval is you. You tell yourself you're not ready, not good enough, not qualified. You crave external validation because you've never given yourself internal validation. That's why silence, solitude, and disappearing matter. Because in the quiet, you learn to validate yourself. You learn to affirm yourself. You learn to say, even if nobody claps, even if nobody sees, even if nobody understands, I know I'm on the right path. That is the voice of transformation. Here's the irony. The more you chase validation, the less authentic you become. The less authentic you become, the less power you carry, the less impact you make. But when you let go of validation, when you embrace authenticity, even at the cost of misunderstanding, you gain a kind of strength that cannot be shaken. You carry an authority that doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. You must understand this deeply. Approval is optional, purpose is not. Validation is temporary, destiny is permanent. Applause fades, but transformation remains. Do not sacrifice the permanent on the altar of the temporary. Do not trade your destiny for the fleeting comfort of being liked. Think of an eagle. An eagle does not wait for the flock to approve before it soars. It does not ask permission to rise higher. It spreads its wings and takes off, even if it flies alone. That is what transformation requires. A willingness to fly solo, a willingness to rise even when others misunderstand why, a willingness to choose destiny over popularity, purpose over comfort, growth over acceptance. So let them misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them talk. Their approval is not your oxygen. Their validation is not your foundation. Their misunderstanding is not your downfall. If anything, it's your confirmation. It means you're doing the work. It means you're growing. It means you're transforming. One day, when you've risen, when you've transformed, when you've become everything you were meant to be, the very people who doubted you will look back and realize what they missed. But you won't even be waiting for that because you'll already know the truth. You didn't need their validation then, and you don't need it now. What you needed was courage, conviction, and the willingness to be misunderstood, and that was enough. So free yourself. Stop begging for approval. Stop waiting for permission. Stop needing to be understood. Walk boldly into your transformation, knowing that validation is a trap, but authenticity is freedom. And when you walk in that freedom, your strength will multiply, your impact will magnify, and your transformation will be undeniable. The cocoon is uncomfortable but necessary. Nobody talks about that part. We see the butterfly. We admire its wings, we marvel at its beauty, but we often forget that before those wings unfolded, there was a dark, tight, lonely space. A place where the caterpillar was hidden, unseen, wrapped up in isolation. That cocoon is not glamorous, it's not celebrated, it's not easy. But it is the refining ground of transformation. Pain, isolation, and pressure are not punishments. They are part of the process. They are the chisels that carve you into who you were always meant to be. Transformation never happens in comfort. Growth doesn't bloom on soft couches or under bright lights with everyone cheering. Growth comes when you're pressed, when you're squeezed, when you're stretched beyond what you thought you could handle. The cocoon is where everything familiar is stripped away. The caterpillar cannot crawl the way it used to. It cannot eat the way it used to. It cannot live the way it used to. It is forced into stillness, into surrender, into a space where the old self dissolves. That process is painful, but it is necessary. Because you cannot become a butterfly while holding on to the habits of a caterpillar. Think about your own life. The seasons when you felt trapped, alone, cut off, even suffocated. Those were not wasted seasons. Those were cocoon seasons. You thought you were being buried, but you were really being planted. You thought life was against you, but life was shaping you. The cocoon teaches you patience. It teaches you trust. It teaches you to endure discomfort, knowing that the pain is producing something greater. The cocoon whispers to you, you are not finished. You are not stuck. You are being prepared. Isolation is one of the hardest parts of the cocoon because human beings crave connection, recognition, validation. We want to be seen, but transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. When you're alone with your thoughts, when you're wrestling with your fears, when you're confronting the parts of yourself you'd rather avoid, that is where the real work happens. Isolation strips away the distractions. It forces you to face yourself, and until you face yourself, you cannot become your higher self. Pressure is another part of the cocoon. The caterpillar doesn't just magically open its wings, it must fight its way out. The struggle is vital. If you cut open the cocoon too early, the butterfly will never fly, because it is the pressure, the pushing, the resistance that strengthens its wings. In the same way, the pressures you face are not there to break you, they're there to strengthen you. Without resistance, you would emerge too weak to carry the weight of your destiny. Without pressure, you would collapse under the very blessing you were asking for. Pressure prepares you for power. Pain, isolation, pressure, these are not signs of failure. They are signs of transformation. But here's the problem. Most people run from the cocoon. The moment it gets uncomfortable, they escape. The moment it gets lonely, they panic. The moment it gets painful, they retreat. And in doing so, they abort the process. They leave the cocoon half-formed, and they wonder why they never see their wings. You cannot shortcut transformation. You cannot bypass the cocoon. You must endure it. The cocoon season feels like loss, but it's really exchange. The caterpillar loses its old form, but it gains something greater. You may lose relationships, opportunities, routines that once defined you, but you're not losing. You're trading them for something higher. You're trading crawling for flying. You're trading limitation for freedom. You're trading temporary comfort for permanent transformation. That's the power of the cocoon. But let's be honest, it hurts. The cocoon hurts because it's tight, restrictive, unfamiliar. You feel trapped, like nothing is moving. You pray, but answers don't come fast. You work, but results don't show up yet. You hope, but you can't see the breakthrough, and everything in you wants to scream. When will this end? That's when you must remind yourself. The cocoon is not a tomb, it's a womb. It's not where you die, it's where you are reborn. Just because it feels like the end doesn't mean it is the end. It's preparation for the beginning of your next level. In fact, the discomfort is proof that change is happening. Growth is never painless. Muscles don't grow without tearing. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Gold isn't purified without fire, and butterflies don't emerge without the cocoon. So when you feel the squeeze, when you feel the silence, when you feel the heat, don't resist it. Don't curse it. Don't despise it. Lean into it. Trust that it is working for you, not against you. Isolation also teaches you to depend less on others and more on what's within you. Too many people never discover their strength because they always lean on someone else's. But in the cocoon, you learn that what you need is already inside you. The caterpillar doesn't import wings from somewhere else. It develops them in the dark. You don't need external approval to transform. You don't need constant support to grow. Everything you need is already in you, waiting to be activated in the cocoon. And here's the beauty. When the butterfly emerges, no one doubts its transformation. Nobody looks at a butterfly and says, that's just a dressed-up caterpillar. The change is undeniable. That's what makes the cocoon worth it. When you emerge, you won't have to argue with people about your growth. You won't have to convince anyone that you've transformed. Your life will show it. Your wings will prove it. Your flight will silence every doubt. So do not despise your cocoon season. Do not curse the pain, the isolation, the pressure. They are not punishments. They are proof. Proof that you are in process. Proof that you are becoming. Proof that something greater is being formed inside you. The cocoon is uncomfortable, yes, but it is necessary, because without it you will never fly. One day you will look back on the cocoon with gratitude. You will see that the very things that felt like breaking were actually building. The very things that felt like loss were actually gain. The very silence that scared you was the space where your wings grew strong. And when you soar, you will understand that every moment in the dark was worth it. So embrace the cocoon. Endure the pain. Withstand the pressure. Accept the isolation. Trust the process. Because the cocoon is not your enemy. It is your passage. It is the bridge between who you were and who you are destined to be. And if you can survive the cocoon, you will not just survive, you will rise, you will transform, you will fly. Private battles create public victories. The world celebrates the trophies, the applause, the recognition, the shine. But the real story, the real grind, the real sweat is written in secret. What people clap for on the stage is built in the silence of the backstage. What they cheer for under the lights is forged in the darkness where no one is watching. The unseen work, the private battles, the lonely nights, the hidden tears, these are the ingredients that fuel visible success. We live in a culture obsessed with appearances. Everyone wants the highlight reel, the final product, the Instagram moment. Few want the process. Few want the discipline. Few want the grind that comes before the glory. But the truth is simple. If you don't fight in private, you won't win in public. You can't show up to the battlefield without having trained in the shadows. You can't walk into the spotlight without having first mastered the darkness. Think of an athlete. The victory we witness on game day is not born in the arena, it's born in the quiet mornings, in the grueling practices, in the hours when the stands are empty and the cameras are off. The sweat dripping on the training floor, the body pushed to exhaustion, the mind sharpened through repetition. That's where champions are made. When the whistle blows, when the crowd roars, when the spotlight hits, all we see is the performance. But that performance is only the fruit of private battles that nobody else saw. The same is true in every area of life. Success in business doesn't happen when you launch. It happens in the late nights of planning, learning, strategizing, risking. Success in relationships doesn't come from the big romantic gestures. It comes from the small daily acts of patience, forgiveness, and sacrifice that nobody else notices. Spiritual strength doesn't come from public preaching or inspiring posts. It comes from private prayers, quiet reflection, and unseen devotion. Public victories are simply the overflow of private integrity, private discipline, private endurance. And here's the truth many don't want to face. Private battles are hard. They are lonely. They are exhausting. There are no fans, no applause, no encouragement. Sometimes there's not even proof that what you're doing is working. You're lifting, studying, praying, practicing, hustling, and it feels invisible. But that's where character is built. That's where resilience is born. That's where the foundation is laid. Because if you only work when people are watching, your growth is shallow. If you only give effort when applause is guaranteed, your strength is weak. It's the consistency in the unseen that gives you the power to shine in the seen. Private battles also reveal who you truly are. In public, it's easy to wear a mask. It's easy to look strong, polished, confident. But in private, there's no audience, no act, just you and the mirror. That's where you confront your weaknesses, your fears, your doubts. That's where you wrestle with insecurity, discipline, temptation. The way you fight those battles determines whether you rise or fall when the pressure comes. If you compromise in the shadows, you will crumble in the light. If you cut corners when nobody's watching, you'll collapse when everybody's watching. Integrity in private protects your power in public. Consider the story of a seed. It spends months, sometimes years, underground where nobody sees it. It faces darkness, dirt, pressure. There's no applause for the seed while it's pushing roots deep into the soil. But one day when it breaks through the surface, everyone notices the tree, the flowers, the fruit. Yet none of that would exist without the unseen battle beneath the ground. You are the same way. Your unseen roots, your habits, your sacrifices, your private battles are what will one day sustain your public fruit. The danger today is that many want to skip the private stage. They want instant success, instant fame, instant recognition. They want the butterfly without the cocoon, the harvest without the planting, the victory without the training. But when you bypass private battles, your public victories are shallow and short-lived. Because the truth is, public recognition without private preparation will crush you. The spotlight exposes, it magnifies both your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you haven't fought in private, the spotlight will reveal your cracks. That's why you must honor your unseen season. Don't despise it. Don't rush it. Don't think it's wasted. Every tear you cry in silence, every discipline you practice in the dark, every sacrifice you make when no one is clapping is writing the story of your victory. Every private yes to growth and every private no to temptation is building a foundation that the world will one day admire but never fully understand. And let's be clear, private battles are not just about discipline, they're also about healing. Some of the most important work you will ever do is internal, forgiving yourself, confronting your past, breaking cycles, reprogramming your mind. These are private battles. They don't trend, they don't get applause, they don't earn likes. But until you win those battles, no amount of external success will satisfy you. If your inner life is broken, your outer life will eventually collapse. The unseen work also teaches you humility. Because when you fought in private, you know that your public victories didn't come cheap. You know the cost, the sweat, the sacrifice. You carry gratitude because you understand what it took to stand where you stand. Those who skip the private grind often crumble under pride, thinking success was easy or automatic. But those who fought in silence carry a depth, a substance, a strength that cannot be faked. So the next time you feel unseen, remember this. Being unseen is not the same as being unproductive. Just because nobody notices doesn't mean nothing is happening. You are building strength that cannot yet be measured. You are writing victories that have not yet been announced. You are preparing for a stage that hasn't yet been revealed. Private battles may not be glamorous, but they are essential. When the day comes for your public victory, it will not be luck. It will not be chance. It will not be accident. It will be the result of unseen choices, unseen battles, unseen sacrifices. The world will say, overnight success, but you will know the truth, that it was years in the making, forged in the silence, in the grind, in the private wars nobody saw. So keep fighting in the dark. Keep pushing when nobody notices. Keep showing up when nobody claps. Keep sowing when there's no harvest yet. Because every private battle you win is building the strength, the resilience, the character you will need for the public victory. And when that victory comes, you won't just enjoy it, you'll embody it. You'll carry the weight of it with grace. Because you were forged in the fire of the unseen. Private battles create public victories. The unseen fuels the seen. And the ones who endure in silence will one day roar in triumph. Transformation changes everything. It is not a surface adjustment, not a little tweak, not a new outfit on the same old soul. Transformation is a total shift, a rebirth, a complete reordering of who you are and how you live. When you commit to disappearing and rebuilding, you don't just polish the edges, you rebuild the foundation. Your mindset changes, your habits change, your circle changes, your energy changes. Everything about you begins to align with the new identity you are stepping into. And that alignment is what unlocks the life you were always meant to live. It begins in the mind because the mind is the command center of transformation. Before you can change your actions, you must change your thoughts. Before you can change your habits, you must change your beliefs. If you still think like the old you, you will keep repeating the patterns of the old you. That is why disappearing matters. It gives you space to rewire your thinking, to confront the lies you've been living under, to break the chains of limiting beliefs, to plant seeds of vision and possibility where there used to be fear and doubt. When your mindset shifts, your world shifts. Because the world you live in is often a reflection of the thoughts you nurture. From the mind, transformation moves into your habits. Because thoughts without action are empty. You can dream all day, you can visualize all night, but unless you back it with discipline, nothing changes. Transformation demands new routines. It demands waking up with intention, eating with awareness, working with focus, resting with purpose. Habits are the daily bricks that build the house of your destiny. If your old habits built a life of frustration, your new habits must build a life of freedom. You cannot pray for transformation while practicing the same self-sabotage. The cocoon of change is where you learn new rhythms, where you establish new disciplines, where you train your body and mind to move in alignment with your higher self. But transformation doesn't stop with you alone. It reshapes your circle. Because the people around you are either fueling your growth or suffocating it. The caterpillar cannot remain surrounded by other caterpillars and expect to soar as a butterfly. There comes a point where you must separate, not because you're better, but because you're different now. You're chasing higher ground, and not everyone is willing to climb with you. Some people are tied to the old version of you. They only understand you as you used to be. And if you let them, they will keep pulling you back into the patterns you're trying to break. That's why transformation often feels lonely, because it requires pruning. But remember this, you are not abandoning them, you are protecting the new you. And in time, your growth might even inspire them. Energy is another area transformation touches. Everything is energy. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your presence. When you transform, your energy shifts. You stop tolerating negativity, gossip, and toxic cycles. You start gravitating toward peace, purpose, and power. People will feel it before they even understand it. They may say, something's different about you. That's your energy speaking. Transformation gives you a new frequency, and not everyone can tune into it. That's okay. Those who are meant for your next level will recognize it, and those who can't will naturally fade away. Transformation also changes how you see time. Before, you may have wasted hours drifting without focus, living for distraction. But in transformation, you realize time is sacred. Every minute is a seed, and you cannot afford to scatter it carelessly. You become intentional. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes to the right things. You stop chasing approval and start pursuing purpose. Your calendar becomes a reflection of your destiny, not your distractions. And let's be clear, transformation is not glamorous. It's gritty. It's hard. It means breaking routines that once gave you comfort. It means walking away from relationships that once gave you identity. It means confronting truths about yourself that you'd rather avoid. But every break is a build. Every loss is an opening. Every ending is an invitation to a new beginning. The old mindset, the old habits, the old circle, the old energy, if they cannot carry you into your next level, you must shed them to soar. Here's the power of transformation. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. You begin to think differently, act differently, walk differently, even speak differently. People may not recognize you, and that's okay. They're not supposed to. Because transformation doesn't aim to make you recognizable, it aims to make you renewed. The goal is not to improve the old you, it's to birth the new you. And once you change, your world responds. Opportunities you never saw before begin to appear because your mindset is now tuned to see them. People who once overlooked you begin to notice because your energy now commands respect. Doors that were locked begin to open, not because they suddenly changed, but because you changed the way you approach them. Transformation is not magic. It is the alignment of your inner world with your outer world, and when alignment happens, doors swing wide. It's important to understand that transformation is continuous. It's not one moment of change, but a lifestyle of growth. You don't just disappear and rebuild once you keep evolving, keep refining, keep shifting, because every level you reach requires a new version of you. The mindset that got you here may not take you there. The habits that sustained this season may not carry the next one. The circle that supported you at one stage may not understand the next. And the energy you have now may need to rise higher tomorrow. Transformation is not a destination, it's a journey. But here's the promise. Once you commit to it, life will never look the same. You will not fit into the old patterns because your new self won't allow it. You will not settle for less because your visions won't let you. You will not waste your energy because your spirit won't tolerate it. Everything changes. Mindset, habits, circle, energy, they all shift. They all elevate. They all align. And when they do, you become unstoppable. So embrace transformation. Do not fear it. Do not resist it. Do not cling to the old when the new is calling. Yes, it will cost you. Yes, it will stretch you. Yes, it will change everything. But that's the point. Because the life you want, the life you're capable of, the life you were designed for cannot be built on the old you. It requires a transformed you, a renewed mind, disciplined habits, a refined circle, elevated energy. When you commit to disappearing and rebuilding, you are not losing, you are gaining. You are gaining clarity, strength, power, purpose. You are gaining wings where once there were only feet. You are gaining freedom where once there were only chains. Transformation changes everything. And in that change, you will finally discover the life that was waiting for you all along. You cannot take everyone with you. That is one of the hardest truths about growth, but it is also one of the most liberating. When you decide to rise, when you commit to transforming, when you embrace the silence of disappearing and rebuilding, you quickly realize that not everyone can handle your new journey. Some will misunderstand your silence. Some will resent your distance. Some will interpret your growth as arrogance or rejection. But growth requires separation, and separation is never painless. It pulls at the heart. It stretches relationships. It tests loyalty. Yet without it, you cannot become who you were meant to be.
Think about climbing a mountain.
At the bottom, the path is wide.
Many people can walk beside you, but as you climb higher, the path narrows. The air thins. The climb gets steeper. Not everyone has the strength, the discipline, or the will to continue upward. Some will stop halfway. Some will turn back. Some will try to pull you down because they are uncomfortable with the height. If you insist on carrying everyone, you will never reach the summit. Growth requires that you travel light. Some people are meant for the beginning of your journey, not the end.
It doesn't mean they are bad. It doesn't mean you no longer care for them. It doesn't mean you think you're better. It simply means your paths are no longer aligned. Your silence, your solitude, your focus, these things are not betrayals. They are necessities. To disappear and transform, you must detach from constant noise, constant approval, constant distraction. And people who once had full access to you may not understand why they can't reach you in the same way anymore. They will say you've changed, and they'll be right. Change demands new boundaries. Change demands new priorities. Change demands separation. Separation also reveals truth. When you step back, you see who really valued you for you, and who valued you for what you gave them. You see who supports your growth and who only supported your stagnation. Some people are comfortable with you as long as you remain the same, because your sameness makes them feel safe. The moment you grow, you disrupt that comfort. And rather than grow with you, they'll try to hold you where they are. That is why silence is often misunderstood. They cannot comprehend why you are no longer available, why you no longer fit their mold, why you no longer participate in the same patterns. But if you want transformation, you must accept being misunderstood. You must accept that some people will paint your silence as selfishness, your focus as pride, your growth as betrayal. Let them. You cannot explain your journey to those who are unwilling to walk it. You cannot shrink your wings to make others comfortable with your flight. If they are meant to rise with you, they will. If not, you must love them enough to let them go. And here's the deeper truth. Separation is not just from people, it's also from versions of yourself. You cannot take your old self with you into your new life. You cannot cling to old habits, old excuses, old patterns of thinking. Some of the people you must leave behind are not external, they are internal. The lazy version of you, the fearful version of you, the insecure version of you, they all have to stay behind when you climb. Growth requires you to separate from your own lower self so your higher self can breathe. This is where silence comes in. Silence gives you the space to detach, to unplug from constant voices telling you who you should be, to step away from the noise of expectations, to hear your own inner voice again. Silence is not rejection, it is reflection. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. But to those who have grown accustomed to your availability, your silence will feel like abandonment. They will call, they will demand, they will question, and you must be strong enough not to answer every call, not to explain every move, not to justify your focus, because transformation cannot happen if you are always defending it to people who do not understand. It hurts to separate. Let's not pretend it doesn't. There will be tears. There will be guilt. There will be moments when you want to go back, when the loneliness feels unbearable, when the weight of misunderstanding feels too heavy. But remember why you started. Remember the vision you carry. Remember the future you are building. Because here's the reality. Everyone cannot go where you are going. The higher you rise, the fewer people will fit beside you. And that is not rejection. It is refinement. Think of the rocket launching into space. When it first takes off, it has multiple boosters attached. Those boosters are necessary for the initial lift, but they are not meant for the entire journey. At a certain altitude, they detach and fall away because the rocket can no longer carry that extra weight. If the boosters refuse to let go, the rocket would never reach orbit. People in your life are the same. Some were boosters. They helped you lift off. They were vital for that season. But they cannot go with you into the next atmosphere. If you cling to them, you'll both fall. If you release them, you'll both be free. This is why separation should be seen not as loss, but as preparation. It prepares you to handle new levels of responsibility, vision, and power. It teaches you independence. It deepens your reliance on purpose instead of people. It strengthens your ability to stand alone when necessary. Because if your growth depends on everyone's agreement, you'll never grow beyond their limits. And here's the paradox. The very silence that some people resent will one day make sense. They'll see the fruit of your focus. They'll see the wings you grew in the cocoon. They'll see the transformation your separation produced. And while some may never understand, others will come back and say, I see now. I see why you had to pull away. I see why you had to disappear. Your life will become the explanation. Your results will speak louder than any justification. So don't be afraid to separate. Don't be afraid to go quiet. Don't be afraid to walk alone for a season. Growth is not a group project. Transformation is not a committee decision. It is personal, it is private, it is costly, but it is worth it. And the people who are truly meant for your destiny will not be lost by your silence. They will be refined by it. They will either rise to meet you or they will release you to fly. At the end of the day, you must decide, will you sacrifice your growth to keep everyone comfortable, or will you sacrifice comfort to honor your growth? One choice leads to stagnation, the other to transformation. And though it hurts, the choice is clear. You cannot take everyone with you, and that's okay. Because where you're going, the ones who are meant to join you will find their way. Disappearance is self-confrontation. When you step back from the noise, when you retreat into silence, when you disappear from the constant motion of the world, you are left with the one person you can never escape, you. In the stillness, there is no mask to wear, no performance to hide behind, no applause to validate you, no distractions to keep you occupied. It is just you and your reflection, you and your thoughts, you and your truth, and that is where transformation begins, not in the eyes of others, but in the confrontation with yourself. Most people are afraid of disappearing because they are afraid of what they will find in the silence. They are afraid of their own doubts, their own fears, their own flaws. They are afraid of the questions that rise when the noise is gone. Who am I, really? What do I believe in? What am I running from? What am I chasing? Am I living authentically, or am I just performing a role for the approval of others? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones. Transformation requires honesty, and honesty is born in confrontation. Disappearance strips you of illusion. When the world is watching, it is easy to pretend. It is easy to play strong when eyes are on you. It is easy to act confident when you are cheered. It is easy to look whole when applause drowns out your insecurities. But when you disappear, there is no stage, no crowd, no performance. There is only truth. And truth demands confrontation. You must face the parts of yourself you've ignored. You must admit the habits that have been holding you back. You must acknowledge the pain you've been avoiding. You must confront the excuses you've been telling yourself. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Because only when you see yourself clearly can you begin to shape who you must become. Think about the caterpillar again. When it enters the cocoon, it does not simply rest. It dissolves. It literally breaks down into a liquid form before reforming as a butterfly. That is the confrontation of disappearance. You are forced to break down old identities, old labels, old ways of thinking, until all that remains is raw material ready to be reshaped. But most people resist this process. They want the wings without the breakdown. They want the transformation without the confrontation. Yet it doesn't work that way. If you do not confront yourself, you will only repeat yourself. You will carry old patterns into new seasons, and nothing will truly change. Self-confrontation is uncomfortable because it demands accountability. It means admitting that some of the limitations in your life were not placed by others but built by you. It means recognizing that your fears have been louder than your faith. It means acknowledging that you have settled for less, that you have tolerated toxic environments, that you have betrayed your own potential for the sake of convenience. That kind of honesty stings, but without it, you cannot grow. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. You cannot change what you deny. Disappearance gives you no choice but to face it. And here's the paradox. While self-confrontation feels like breaking, it is actually building. Because when you are honest about who you are, you can finally decide who you must become. You start to see the gap between your current self and your higher self. You begin to ask, what do I need to release? What habits must I kill? What beliefs must I unlearn? Who do I need to forgive others? Or maybe myself? What discipline do I need to embrace? What version of me must die so the next version can live? These questions are the blueprint of transformation. Without them, you are just wishing for change. With them, you are sculpting it. Self-confrontation also demands courage, because not everything you find will be ugly. Some of it will be beautiful, and that can be just as scary. You will discover strength you didn't know you had. You will see visions bigger than what you thought you deserved. You will glimpse a version of yourself so powerful, so capable that it terrifies you. because now you can no longer pretend to be small. Now you are accountable to the greatness you saw in the silence. Many people run from disappearance because it shows them not just their weaknesses, but their greatness. And greatness is frightening because it demands responsibility. This is why transformation is rare. Most people choose comfort over confrontation. They stay busy so they don't have to face themselves. They stay loud so they don't have to hear the truth. They surround themselves with distractions, relationships, and noise so they never have to look in the mirror of silence. But those who are willing to disappear, those who dare to confront themselves, they are the ones who rise. They are the ones who transform. And let's be clear, self-confrontation is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong process. Every new level of growth demands a new level of honesty. Every new season requires a new stripping away. You may disappear once and emerge stronger, but eventually life will call you back into the cocoon for another round. Each time you will shed more illusions, more habits, more fears. Each time you will meet a new version of yourself. Each time you will confront who you are and decide again who you must become. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. The strongest people are not those who never doubt, never fear, never struggle. The strongest people are those who are willing to confront their doubts, face their fears, wrestle their struggles, and come out refined. They are not afraid of silence. They are not afraid of solitude. They are not afraid to disappear because they know disappearance is where the real work happens. So when life pulls you into a season of disappearance, do not resist it. Lean into it. Do not rush out of it. Do not fill it with distractions. Sit in it. Confront yourself. Be brutally honest. Write down your truths. Admit your failures. Acknowledge your wounds. Celebrate your strengths. Envision your future. In the silence, build clarity. In the solitude, birth vision. In the confrontation, create transformation. Because here's the promise, on the other side of confrontation is freedom. When you finally face yourself, you stop running. You stop pretending. You stop hiding. You start living. You start creating. You start becoming. And the person who emerges from that silence is stronger, clearer, and freer than the one who entered it. That is the gift of disappearance. It forces you into the fire of self-confrontation, but you come out forged in steel. So yes, disappearance is self-confrontation. It is not easy. It is not glamorous. It will not earn you applause. But it will give you the one thing applause never can, authenticity. It will align you with your true self. It will strip away everything false and leave you with everything real. And from that place, you can finally build a life that matches who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. That is the power of disappearing. That is the power of confronting yourself. That is the path to transformation. Your comeback will speak louder than your absence. That is the truth about transformation. When you disappear, people notice. They question where you've gone. They wonder why you've pulled back, why you're no longer present in the way you used to be. Some will assume you're finished. Some will assume you quit. Some will assume you lost. But they don't understand that your disappearance was not defeat. It was design. It was strategy. It was preparation. And when you reemerge, when you step back into the world, when you reveal the new version of yourself, your comeback will silence every doubt, every assumption, every whispered rumor. Your absence will have been a question mark, but your comeback will be the exclamation point. The beauty of the comeback is that it never needs to be announced. You don't have to broadcast it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify where you've been or what you've been doing. Your results will speak for you. Your presence will speak for you. Your transformation will speak for you. The same people who doubted you, the same people who underestimated you, the same people who thought your silence was the end of your story will be forced to face the undeniable evidence of your growth. That's the power of the comeback. It is louder than excuses, louder than explanations, louder than words. Think about the greatest stories you know. The most powerful narratives are not about people who never fell, never disappeared, never struggled. The greatest stories are about those who vanished for a season, those who faced defeat, those who were overlooked or written off, only to return stronger, sharper, more focused, more powerful. History remembers the comeback. People are inspired not by those who never left the spotlight, but by those who left, transformed, and came back with fire in their eyes. When you reemerge, you'll be unrecognizable, and that is the point. You are not supposed to look the same. You are not supposed to act the same. You are not supposed to move the same. If people can look at you after your silence and say, you're exactly the same as before, then you wasted your disappearance. Your comeback should shock them. They should barely recognize you because the old you has been shed like dead skin. The old habits, the old weaknesses, the old insecurities, they're gone. You carry yourself differently. You think differently, you speak differently, you choose differently, you shine differently, and the ones who underestimated you will not even know how to process the new version of you standing in front of them. And not only will you be unrecognizable, you'll be undeniable, because growth leaves evidence. Transformation produces fruit. You can't hide the strength you've built in silence. You can't disguise the discipline you've cultivated in solitude. It will show in your work. It will show in your energy. It will show in your results. When you come back, the quality of your presence will demand attention. People won't have to guess whether you've changed. They'll see it in everything you do. Your focus will cut through distractions. Your consistency will silence excuses. Your excellence will dismantle doubt. That's what makes a comeback undeniable. It is not built on promises. It is built on proof. And once you are unrecognizable and undeniable, you become unstoppable. Not because the world suddenly makes it easy for you, but because you've faced yourself in the silence and now nothing external can shake you. You've already fought the hardest battles. The battles in the dark, the battles in your own mind, the battles no one saw. And because you overcame them privately, you walk with a strength publicly that no obstacle can defeat. You've developed resilience, you've built habits, you've cultivated vision. And once you carry those things within you, nothing outside of you can stop you. The truth is, people only see the surface of a comeback, but you know the depth of what it cost. You know the nights you cried, you know the moments you almost gave up, you know the battles no one applauded. That's why your comeback is so powerful. It's not just about where you arrive, it's about what you overcame to get there. It's about the transformation that happened in the dark. When you step back into the light, you carry all of that with you, and it radiates from you. People may not know the details, but they'll feel the weight of your journey in your presence. And understand this, your comeback is not for the doubters. It's not for the critics. It's not for the ones who misunderstood your silence. Your comeback is for you. It's the proof to yourself that the disappearing was worth it, that the solitude wasn't wasted, that the pain had purpose. It's the evidence that you can be reborn, that you can start over, that you can reinvent yourself. It's the reminder that no matter how far you fell, no matter how long you were gone, you are not finished. You are still here, stronger, wiser. But while your comeback is for you, it will also inspire others, because people are watching. Even when you think no one notices, someone does. Someone sees your struggle. Someone feels your absence. Someone will witness your return. And when they see how you reemerge, they will believe that they too can rise from their own silence, from their own struggle, from their own disappearance. Your comeback won't just silence doubters, it will awaken dreamers. It will remind people that transformation is possible, that it is never too late, that disappearance is not death but preparation. The key is patience. Too many people cut their comeback short because they get restless in the silence. They want to prove themselves too quickly. They want to rush out of the cocoon before the wings are ready. But if you emerge too soon, you'll still be fragile. You'll still be unfinished. And the world will crush what wasn't fully formed. Don't rush your disappearance. Don't hurry the process. Let the silence do its work. Let the transformation run its course. Because when you come back fully ready, nothing can stop you. Your wings will be strong enough to fly. Your comeback is not about making noise. It's about making impact. Anyone can make noise. Anyone can talk loud, make big announcements, post flashy words. But impact, that requires depth, that requires discipline, that requires silence first. That requires disappearing to build something real. And when you've built it, you don't need to shout. Your very presence announces it. Your results announce it. Your excellence announces it. That's why your comeback speaks louder than your absence, because silence was just the seed, but the comeback is the harvest. And don't miss this, your comeback is not just a return to where you were, it's a rise to where you've never been.
You are not coming back to the same level. You are coming back higher. You are coming back wiser. You are coming back stronger. You are coming back transformed. That's what makes it so powerful. You're not returning to old ground. You're claiming new ground. And the people who thought your story was over will be forced to realize it was only just beginning.
So when you disappear, don't despair. When you are silent, don't feel small. When people misunderstand you, don't feel defeated. Hold on. Keep working. Keep building. Keep confronting yourself. Keep refining your vision. Because the day will come when you reemerge. And when you do, your comeback will shake the ground. It will silence doubt. It will prove that the silence had purpose. It will show the world that you are unrecognizable, undeniable, and unstoppable. And in that moment, you'll understand why the silence was necessary. You'll understand why the disappearance had to happen. You'll understand why you couldn't rush the process. Because the person who comes back is not the same person who disappeared. The person who comes back is a new creation, a new force, a new power, and nothing, not doubt, not fear, not critics, not obstacles will be able to stop you. Your comeback will speak louder than your absence. Let it, build it, live it, because when you return, the world won't just see you. They'll see what transformation looks like. They'll see the evidence of what silence can produce. They'll see the strength of someone who dared to disappear, dared to confront themselves, dared to grow, and dared to rise again. And in that moment, you will be the living proof that disappearance is not the end, but the beginning of an unstoppable comeback.